Расцветали яблони и груши, поплыли туманы над рекой. Выходила на берег Катюша, на высокий берег, на крутой.
If I didn't know that this was a mini-art figure, all I would have to see is this leg. You can't mistake these seam lines or flash for any other manufacturer. But that doesn't mean that the figures aren't good. In fact, they are really good, but they need some extra care in these areas. What I don't like about plastic figures are the mold seams all around the fingers. They aren't easy to remove, at least not if you want to remove them completely. I used the back of my number 11 blade to scrape off the seam line. This removed most of it in a quick and easy manner. For the folds, etc., I used the files you see in the background. It wasn't necessary to do a perfect job on the legs of this figure. They'll be hanging in a turret hatch and nothing will be seen. The fit of the legs wasn't good. There's a gap almost all the way around. My way of filling gaps like these is to put some plastic cement along the joint. Then I just pull it flat with my fingertip. Usually 2 runs are enough and the joint can be sanded after the glue has cured. In case that the gap is still there, I apply some liquid CA glue. That's all there is to it. This wouldn't work if you had to deal with wider gaps, but this here can easily be done without putty. I removed the seam line on the hands only using my X-Acto knife the way I described it. Along the fingers I used the tip of the blade. A little sanding with a very fine grit sanding stick completed the job on all parts. This gap was also filled with plastic cement and CA glue. It's visible as long as there's no paint on the figure, because the glue is dry transparent. Assembly of this figure completed and placed where it should sit. And now it's clear why I didn't care too much for the interior painting. The figure blocks the side into the turret. This is not a Pablo Picasso painting or sculpture. These are the parts of 2 more tankers. The bodies and the limbs come from the upgraded Tamiya SU-122 kit. I didn't like the heads because they are too small and the tanker helmet's cushions are too flat. I used bare heads from the mini art kit. They are slightly too large, but they look way better than the Tamiya P heads. As I expected, the fit of the Tamiya parts was nice. I had to reposition the right arm to get the hand and the bottom on the same level. That was a surprise, because I never thought this could be necessary. Anyway, the upper bit of the right arm had to go, and what you see here is not the final result. I'll have to take away a little more of the shoulder. I don't use any convenience products. All pigments or dirt and mud mixtures are homemade. Here I wanted a lighter earth tone than the one Mr. Mole provided me with. This is sifted bird or chinchilla sand and I gave it a good grind in the mortar. Then I added the same amount of my European earth base. I stirred it up a little to show you the difference between the 2 colors. Then I added some raw sienna pastel chalk. And some light yellow pastel chalk. According to a couple of pics I saw of the Prokhorovka area, this color suits my needs. For very light dust I can add white pastels, and for a wet effect I can add dark gray or black pastels. This is what the road wheels with rubber tires look after dry brushing. The tires are ready to receive some of my Kursk Earth. I applied pigment to the right tire. And all done. In the foreground you can see some cotton buds. They were used to remove the pigment from the raised surfaces. Again, the right tire is done. And the first pass finished on all tires. For more removing, I used alcohol and cotton buds. Right tire done. All but the left tire done. Finished. They're ready to receive a flat coat now. This is what the exhausts look like after the previous update. A light grey base coat, a little flat brown on the pipe's ends, and the inner pipes painted black. The exhaust ends got some rust with raw sienna oil paint and lighter petrol. Then I did the same with burnt umber on the upper ends of the pipes. The paint was pulled towards the lower ends using lighter petrol. This way the burnt umber was removed almost completely, but a dark brownish hue remained on the exhausts. This way I also created some shadow around the upper ends. Now it was time to add different pigments to create several layers of rust. These are the colors I used. A good opportunity to test my self-made pigment fixer. First pigments I used were mixtures of bright red and black or bright red and dark grey. To keep the pigments away from the areas around the exhausts, I masked them with tape. After I applied the thin coat of the pigment fixer on both exhausts, I laid down the dark red mixture. This represents old rust. After the fixer had dried, I applied some more of it and added the bright red and dark grey mixture. I mixed the rest of the first two pigment mixtures with raw sienna pastel. This mixture looks a bit more like new rust and was applied mostly to the pipe's ends. The next layers were raw sienna, bright red, and light orange. Each layer was put onto a coat of pigment fixer and was sealed with a fixer. The pigments weren't applied in an even fashion. The pipes looked like steel that started chipping. The inner pipes received layers of black and dark grey pigments. I was really looking forward to adding the spare track links to the turret. Somehow they got a real nice texture during the painting process. If you asked me how I did it, I couldn't give you an answer. It just happened. Some light rust streaking was needed, and I used raw sienna oils on the spots where rust would appear. I used a small flat brush and lighter petrol to pull the paint downwards and blend it in. I like the way it looks. There's rust, but it's not old rust. It's new rust that may have been created and washed down by rain. And now for the shovels. I painted the metal parts with German grey and the wooden parts with flat brown acrylics. Then I dry brushed the wood with a medium brown enamel paint. The last step was dry brushing it with a light brown. The metal parts were done with graphite and a dark metallic mixture. We'll get back to that in the next chapter. In the previous update I added straps to the tarps. They were painted with acrylics and then dry brushed. Then they were given a pin wash with my dark wash mixture. They're now ready to be glued to the handrails of the tank. Then it was time to imitate areas and spots where the paint had been damaged and the metal became visible. Usually I do this in two different ways, and I used both of them on the T34. On grab handles and other exposed edges I used a pencil. Larger areas were dry brushed with a mixture of burnt umber oil paint and aluminum enamel paint. Let's start with the pencil. This effect should be used sparingly because graphite reflects light. If you overdo the use of the pencil, your model will almost shine like a mirror. To avoid this, I'll spray a thin flat coat on top of it. The graphite will still be shining, but less than before. Here are some impressions of the effect before the flat coat. As I said, I used a mixture of burnt umber and aluminum to imitate damaged paint and bare metal on larger areas. The different kinds of paint mix very well and they are quite thick. This helps a lot if you need paint for dry brushing. I dipped the tip of the brush into the mixture and removed the excess paint with a paper towel. To get an almost dry brush, I wiped it on a paper towel until there was only a light trace of paint visible. The metal parts of the shovels were dry brushed carefully to avoid giving the surrounding areas an unwanted shining effect. The front areas of the fenders were dry brushed too. This is where the soldiers mount their tank. The tow cables were painted in tank color, but they were given a metallic dry brushing. A bit of raw sienna will follow on some spots to represent rust. Since the tankers also walk around on the engine deck, some dry brushing with the mixture became necessary. First sub-assembly to get a flat coat was the turret. I mixed one part of paint and one part of my homemade thinner. The appearance is suspicious, but that's what it looks like. While I was at it, I also mixed the pigment fixer you saw before. I made enough of the flat coat to fill an empty Tamiya paint bottle. Here you have some impressions of the turret after spraying on the flat coat. Like I said, there's enough visible of the metallic effect. It's just a bit toned down now.
В саду ягода, малинка, малинка моя.
I also sprayed the road wheels with pliers to fix the pigments I applied before.
Нельзя забыть весенний этот день. Победа, победа ликующих на улицах людей. Победа, победа, мы все прошли через пламя.
Doing the pin washing is one of my favorite parts of the paint job. On dark colors like on this tank I use my dark wash. I've got lighter ones for tanks with a lighter base color. The wash is highly diluted and I don't need any gloss coat to enhance capillary action. The lighter petrol will be used to remove excess paint. I'll show you the difference the pin wash makes in this order. Before, after with wash still wet, wash dried, and excess removed with lighter petrol and a damp brush.
Той земли, что в боях спасена, нет на свете дороже и лучше. Закури, солдат, и слушай, как звенит над миром тишина. Нельзя забыть весенний этот день. Победа, победа ликующих на улицах людей. Победа, победа, мы все прошли через пламя и дым. Погибшим слава и слава живым. Победа, победа, мы верили, мы знали, победим.
Нас огнем проверяла война, навсегда разлучала с друзьями, но они сегодня с нами, фронтовых героев примера.
Нельзя забыть весенний этот день.
Победа, победа,
ликующих на улицах людей.
победа, победа.
Мы все прошли через пламя и дым, погибшим слава и слава живым.
The turret was done before, but I've only got pics of the finished product.
Мы верили, мы знали, победим! Мы все прошли через пламя и дым, погибшим слава и слава живым. Победа, победа, мы все стоим под знаменем твоим. Мы